There, okay. If we could ever get to this tonight. Holy shit, I'm going nuts. Okay, you think we can get this show on the road? I've got to be up and out the door early tomorrow. And we got a few things to do. So first things first, I guess let's get to the point. So we are going to be going after some black walnut tomorrow. I'm told it's black walnut. It's 3 hours away. It damn well better be black walnut. The pictures look like it, but there's no good close-ups. But so anyway, apparently it's about a 32 inch trunk tree. Apparently, from the pictures I've seen, it's really tall, really straight. It looks like the first branches don't start for quite a ways. I could just see the leaflets in the pictures, so it looks to be about right. But so anyway, that's what we're doing tomorrow. So I'm running around tonight like a chicken with my head cut off, trying to get ready for this because it's kind of a short notice deal. We were going to do it next weekend, and about this afternoon the plans changed, and so an uncle of mine and I are going after it. But anyway, this is my 372 XP. This is the one I built from spare parts and all that good stuff. The problem that I'm having right now is I had put an aftermarket recoil on it, and that aftermarket recoil has been nothing but a piece of shit from the time I put on it. It's been a pain in my ass. It keeps breaking the rope. It doesn't want to rewind right. Just junk. So I happen to have a spare OEM one kicking around. We're going to throw that on. Should have just put it on to begin with. We would have been gold. But, you know, same old shit, bigger pile here. I know my language is a little rough tonight, guys, but you'll have to live with it. That's just me. That's how it is. That's how I am. So we're also going to hook up the chain grinder tonight. Move that out of the pit of despair. I found a box of 359 XP in my shop in the old pit of despair. We're going to see if I have enough parts to put that together tonight. I've got to load up chain falls. I have to load up come-alongs. I've got a lot of shit to load up. Started tearing that old building down today that I was talking about before. I didn't run the camera because I didn't know how the guy who owns it felt about that. Some people are kind of funny about that, and you can't really blame them. But we'll just see what happens. Now the other problem I had with this, the gas cap started leaking on me profusely the last time I used it, so we put a different one on. And that didn't seem to help much, but take this piece of shit and throw it in a dumpster somewhere. This thing is garbage. I mean, just plain... it's just garbage. Useless. So we will put a good one on. Oh, let's see what we get here. Let's see what we get. Always better to use OEM when you can. So much nicer. Once you get that little spring in the back there, that could be a real pain in the ass when that thing flies apart on you. Ask me how I know. No, it's... So how's everybody doing today anyway? Everybody doing well? I've had one of those nothing goes right kind of days. Everything's frigged up. Trying to get this all done because to leave good and early tomorrow. I had a brand new spool of recoil rope kicking around. You think I could find that? Hell no. And what would be the fun in finding that? Come on. I usually tie a big knot in this end. That's another deal where the rope comes out on you right in mid-pull. Oh, that pisses you right off. And there we go, see what happens there. Alright, let's put it on the saw. Yeah, this saw has a brand new crankcase, brand new coil, brand new piston cylinder, brand new carburetor, fuel lines. We went right through this one pretty damn well. I really need to get a new gas tank and rear handle for that Dolmar 6400. I'd still like to know which one of my children broke that one. Nobody knows nothing. It's kind of like the window upstairs. Everybody's innocent in my house. One more for good measure. Cool. All right, now you see how I was tipping it all over the place on its side, everything like that. One of the biggest killers of your chainsaws is air leaks on your your oil, your crank seals, on your clutch side, on your flywheel side, especially if you have a habit of running really dull chains and your oiler's not working right. A lot of times you can overheat that crank seal on the clutch side and it'll develop an air leak, and then your saw will blow right up. It will stop working. So when you if you tip it over on its side, you tip it all the way around. It's also a really good way to see how your carburetor is. So say I tip it with the clutch side up, and if that saw starts revving really fast and it leans out, chances are that crank seal on that clutch side is bad. If I do the same, tip it where the flywheel's up, where your recoil is, and it leans out, starts running really fast, like you're sitting there piss revving it almost, that means that seal's probably no good. And if you're checking the tune on your carburetor and you tip it forward and it stays running the same, that's good. If it bogs right down like it's going to quit on you, chances are that carburetor's flooding. It's either not adjusted right or the carburetor needs a rebuild kit. Same thing, you run it in the back. It's just one of those things that might help you determine the health of your saw before you lose, I'll say before you lose a piston and cylinder on it. Now if you get an older saw like this one right here, this is from the era probably the early 2000s. They're really easy to rebuild. It's a pretty simple process, not too bad, but like I said, that's just one of those things that, to look for. So I guess we better keep moving. We've got chains to sharpen, I've got a saw to try to put together, and I guess we'll just see what happens. Alright, let's see. A couple of quick test cuts. We'll try it with the bar buried. Got some knotty stuff here. Before I hurt myself, crap out of the way. There. So we got a good sharp chain on that. We got a few of them sharpened up tonight. I did not get to putting the one saw together. I think I'm lacking a muffler plate and a gasket for the muffler for the exhaust, so I have to see if I could dig that up. I can't believe I found all the parts I did. I mean, that thing's been in the pit of despair, scattered all over a bench for a few years now. Well, pretty much since this started. But that one's a Husqvarna 359. I like my Husqvarna saws. I've got, I have a few of those. I've got my ported and souped up little steel MS260. That one I lightened the piston. We ported and polished it a few years ago, opened up the muffler, stuff like that. Sounds like a little dirt bike when it runs, and boy does she cut. But we also, obviously I'm a big fan of my Dolmars, but unfortunately, every Dolmar I have right now, it'll turn over and they'll run, but the one I have a gas tank's busted on it, like I said earlier in the video. Big mystery as to how that happened. I have an old 120 SI that I lent out to somebody at one point, and they ran it until the muffler bolts rattled out. That's what happens when you run really dull chain or you file your rakers too low. You get so much vibration in the saw, it rattles things loose. And unfortunately, it destroyed the, well, here's part of it. Fortunately, it destroyed that plate right there. It goes in between the muffler and the exhaust port. Awesome, really awesome. So it mangled that, and I cannot find the damn bolts for it. No longer available, and that really sucks. I'll find them eventually, but that is one of my favorite saws. That one's also ported and polished, and the piston lightened up, things like that. That is a really good running saw. Then I have a big 90cc Dolmar that I have to put crank seals in. So as soon as I find the crank seals, I'd love to get that one. That used to be my milling saw. Before I had the bandsaw mill and all that, we did everything here with the Alaskan sawmill. And the Alaskan sawmill's fine if you're only doing a couple logs a year here and there, but if you're trying to make any time or you have any amount of logs, forget it. You might as well go buy a sawmill. You can get an entry-level sawmill now, band mill, fairly inexpensively. I mean, you figure. So here's the way I look at it. Even if you went and bought a cheap Harbor Freight bandsaw mill, they do have them. They're not too bad with a few modifications. So even if you bought one of those at, say, $2,500, and you compare that to getting an Alaskan sawmill set up, where you're going to spend $400 or $500 on the mill itself to get one any decent size, then you're going to spend another $1,200 on a saw. So you really have to weigh it out, I guess. I mean, sometimes that's the only option you have. If you get a really old saw, an old powerhouse saw, you know, obviously it's cheaper. But if you're starting from scratch and you're starting new, you're really not, if you go the lower end entry band mill, you're really not spending all that much more than you would on an Alaskan setup. Now, Alaskan setups are nice. Like I said, I used one for a lot of years, so before the hate mail starts and all the Alaskan sawmill fans start chiming in, I know what I'm talking about. I used it for a long time. That's all I had for a while. I started out with an 045 steel, which is an old boat from the 70s. Big heavy saw. Started with a 30-inch bar. That was a 75cc saw, I believe. And then ended up using my Dolmar 6400 for a while, 64cc. A little bit underpowered for that, but it worked fine. It actually worked better than the old steel, probably because the old steel was pretty worn out. And then finally we ended up with a Dolmar 9010, which is a 90cc saw, and that works phenomenal on the sawmill. Anyway, you cut it though, milling boards with a chainsaw, it is really hard on a saw. It's really hard on it. You're running wide open throttle for very long periods of time. And a lot of people, they don't think to stop, let the saw cool down and idle a little bit, a few feet into the cut. You have to do auxiliary oilers if you really want to make your chains last a while. So there's a lot to it, but if that's all you can do, that's all you can do. But anyway, I'm getting tired. We have to leave here. This tree is 3 hours away. I'm looking forward to it. And the saw's running, they're ready to go, the truck's loaded up. I have to clear the bed out in the morning, you know. You know how that is. That means all the barn boards I took down today at that gentleman's house are all going to sit in the driveway till I get home tomorrow. And my wife will probably get irritated, but that's the way she goes. So anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you on the next one.